Howdy peeps, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. And today we're going to be talking about these gorgeous little fishies, the Neolamprologus Similis, a territorial shell-dwelling cichlid, endemic to Lake Tanganyika, specifically along the shorelines of Tanzania and the Democratic Republic of Congo, or DRC for short. Now, when adult, they exhibit a coppery colour with white stripes, as you can see in some of the ones here. And they're super cool, super awesome little fish. As you can see, we have multiple generations going on in here. There are at least 2 or 3 generations of fry, all from different adults, different females at least, and there's no predation, no one gets eaten, it's all good. The only time you get any problems with actual aggression is when they're overcrowded, and then it just means sell off some of the adults and you're fine again. Tank size, the minimum recommended is usually 10 gallon or 40 litre, which you can get a few in. This is a 15 gallon fluval flex. As you can see, we've got more than a few, but hey, they breed readily in the right conditions. And speaking of conditions, they like their pH hard. They like to chew the water. So 7.5 to 9, yes. 8 to 25 degrees of hardness. So if you're used to South American cichlids, nah. Temperature wise, your standard tropical temperatures, 24 to 27, 75 to 81, depending on whether you use scientific numbers or American numbers. Their preferred diet are obviously, being small fish is small foods. They will happily take micro pellets, granules, frozen or live food. These guys at the moment are getting a mixture of hikari first bites and baby brine shrimp. Adults and juveniles both eat the same things, so you don't have to worry about it. As for how you set up a tank for them, obviously the hard water. You'll also want some rock work, lots of sand and lots of escargot shells. Now, you can buy special escargot shells for cichlid keepers, or you can just buy them for restaurants. They're the same thing, and one's about 1/10 of the price of the other, and I'll let you guess which one that is. So, sexual dimorphism is difficult. It's only when they're fully adult you can really tell, and that's just because the males get slightly larger than the females, and they can develop a very slight nuchal hump, otherwise known as a cock. Love that word. Breeding wise, territory wise, it's pretty much the same. Everyone has their own shell, and the females woo the males. Female lays the eggs in the shell, the male fertilises outside the shell, and then the female swims out, which draws the semen into the shell, fertilising the eggs. They normally hatch within a day, although you're not going to see them. First thing you'll see of fry is when they're free swimming, which is about a week later, and you see what looks like a dark speck of sand move, because the fry are minute. They are absolutely tiny when first born. If you're seeing the really small ones in here, they're a couple of weeks old. There's a couple right down the back. There's the previous generation, and the really tiny specks, yeah, those were a couple of weeks old. Free swimming, couple of weeks old. So when they're first born, they are absolutely teeny. But as I said, they don't predate each other's fry. The young will hang around the parent's shell for a fair while until they get kicked out. And that's not just because there's another spawn. Yeah, and they are endlessly entertaining to watch. They're always up to something, some little territorial dispute, squabble, throwing sand or rocks at each other. Just being fun and funny. They are awesome little fish. I mean, if you're OCD about keeping your sand nice and level, then don't go for shell dwellers, because the sand in this tank was level. They dig little pits around their shells, or not so little pits sometimes, and the ones down the back are virtually to the bottom. I think she has actually hit the glass, which is why she stopped digging. And yeah, suitable tank mates are fairly limited, as they are territorial and they do have teeth, and they will bite. They'll even bite people. I've been nipped if you get too close. If you stick your finger near the entrance to the shell and they're in there, they'll give you a nip, let you know. So because of that, bottom dwelling species are a no-no. Anything with flowy, frilly fins that's going to come down the bottom is also a no-no. They even escort snails out of their territory. So when you see one picking up a trumpet snail by the tip of the shell and swimming around like it's got a trumpet, yeah, it's just going to spit it out the other side of the tank. So also because of the hardness of the water, that also does limit things basically to Tanganyika and cichlids. But there's not some bad choices there. And obviously this is larger tanks. I wouldn't recommend a 10 or a 15 gallon like this adding another species, but in a 20 or a 40, something like 120, 160 litres, something like that, some extra rock work and some more fish would be awesome. And for that you can go with the Neolamprologus Similis, or the fairy cichlid. Another very pretty fish. The smaller species of Gelidochromis would do well as well. And if you've got a big tank with plenty of open water, some of the smaller species of Cyprochromis as well will work well. You may notice there aren't any plants in this tank. And this is my sole display tank, as it were, that isn't planted. Simple reason for that. They just dig everything up. I've tried putting things in pots and they just emptied the pot, which is where all the lava rock came from. I didn't realise they'd be able to pick that up and spit it about quite as regularly as they do. I mean, they pick up and move the shells, so they got some strength to them. Let's say the little territorial squabbles, they don't hurt each other usually, unless they get overcrowded. Then you can get fights to the death. But hey, just move a few on before it gets to that point and you're sorted. Obviously no plants, so algae can be an issue. Just keep your lights down low. They don't like overly bright light either. You can see they've got the blue eyes, so also good at seeing in low light. So you don't need massive bright lights on them, and these are the standard kit light on the flex, and they're turned down to about halfway, 40%, something like that. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you about these awesomely gorgeous fish, and I don't think there is. I mean, you've been watching now for nearly 10 minutes and you've seen the way they're reacting. As soon as they get a bit of a jump or a shock, they all zip straight back down to their shells. I mean, if I wave my hand too close, although they're used to me, so they're not doing it, but you can see they all go straight towards a shell. Some have gone in. But yeah, as I say, they're Great little fish, easy to keep in a small tank, easy to feed, easy to look after, don't produce a lot of waste. Yeah, if you've got hard water, go shellies, they rock. Anyway, ooh, what else was there? As I say, yes, the breeding. Spawns aren't very big, up to sort of maybe half dozen at best, that I've seen anyway. So you're not going to get overrun overnight. It's not like guppies or mollies or anything like that, where you're going to get hundreds of the blooming things before you realise it. And it's usually a month or two between spawns, so yeah, you can enjoy them. But anyway, as I was going to say, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your hobby. Get the thumb in the way. Peace out. Rock on. Bye bye.